Guys, welcome back to Aussie Wristwatch. I'm Jessica Liley, and today I thought we'd have a little bit of fun. So it's mid-November-ish, which we all know what that means. Christmas is a comin', baby, which means we might need some gift ideas for ourselves to give to our loved ones or to buy for our friends and loved ones. I don't know about you, but I'm on a little bit of a budget at the moment. Meaning I can't go out and buy any expensive watches. So I thought, let's have a look at some that are maybe a little more affordable. They might still tip over into being slightly exy, but they're going to give some people some ideas. I just wanted to sort of stick to things that potentially aren't going to break the bank. So the first is actually going to be, so the first watch is in the Seiko camp. Now, if you know watches, you know Seiko. They range from sort of down here to up here, being Grand Seiko at the top. As a Japanese brand, they're all about, I think, quality, in particular at a more affordable price point. Let's just set Grand Seiko aside for a moment because it's in a slightly different bucket. But like the Prospex Seiko watches are exceptional, and they have a great deal of models in that range that kind of suit most budgets, and they look absolutely spectacular. If you love a dive watch, if you know a watch enthusiast that loves dive watches, this could be an option for you to explore. In particular, I looked at an SPB 315, which, I mean, it's not quite to my taste actually, because it's kind of got like these gold, it's got a black and gold or yellow bezel, whatever you want to call it. The thing I love about the Prospex though is the 4 o'clock winder. I know people must think that sticks out like a bit of a sore thumb, kind of like a helium escape valve on Omega Seamaster 300M, but I think it gives it a point of difference, and I quite enjoy that. So put the Seiko Prospex on your list if you know people who love dive watches. They're keen on getting a good quality Japanese made watch, particularly in the automatic sphere. This could be one for either yourself or for your family member to enjoy. The next watch I thought would be Timex. So Timex, I don't have a Timex. I actually really love their solar Timex field watch, which I'd love to get. This watch is also a very cool watch, dive technology, and it's the Q Timex reissue models. They're quartz movements, and they cost you less than about $400, so they're very good value for money. The field watch was the other one I looked at. Like I said, it was the solar powered watch, and that sort of sits under $300. I mean, I know you can get a Timex for under $100 on Amazon, so Timex have a lot for the modest budget, I would say. So if you want to explore sort of that brand, they've got some really great inspired watches that kind of hark or homage to certain other brands. The Q Timex reissue kind of has that Pepsi bezel, which, you know, we know what that's trying to be. Casio, I mean, we could go anywhere with Casio, right? But let's go to G-Shock, shall we? They're a durable, classic digital watch that honestly is made to last, and probably made to outlast all of us at this point in time. I have a G-Shock. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's actually a bit too bulky. If I had my time again, I'd pick something else. But I bought it online like years ago because I just wanted one. Good one, Jess. And so I ended up probably with the one that I wouldn't get had I went to the actual store and bought one. But let's have a look at, in particular, the ones that are like affectionately known as the Casio. So they're a play on the Royal Oak, which is the AP, at a vastly different price point. You can get a Casio for a few $100. You can't get an AP for anywhere near that. A few $100,000 maybe, but yeah, they're kind of like the ultimate rugged watch. There's a lot of fun to them because they come in a whole raft of colors. Check them out. yourself a watch enthusiast who's after a robust sort of activity watch, if the person you're buying for is a tradie, does a lot of sport, does a lot of activity, or you just know that they love really cool watches, get them one of these. Because even if they don't do any of those things I've just talked about, I mean, I do activities and sport, not a tradie, but I still love those watches. So check out the G-Shocks. In particular, go and check out a Casio. They're a lot of fun. They come in a lot of different color variants with a number of different complications. They're really exceptional value for money. Casio, of course, also do dressier watches at a very, very cheap price point. So, I mean, if you're wanting to look for something, you know, that's not activity based or just, you know, set in the 1980s, you can also jump on the Casio website and check out their dress watch collection. Also very cheap price point, good quality quartz watches, really good value for money. I'm not going to go through any of those particular ones in detail, but you know, if you know someone who is a watch lover of Omega or Blancpain, you could always go the Swatch route and get them a Moon Swatch or a 50 Fathoms. But understanding that you'll probably have to line up at the Swatch store to get those. I got a Swatch, Moon Swatch for a friend maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and I still had to line up. Not for very long, but just I couldn't just walk in the door and get one. They get stock every other day. They put them out, they get sold. I'd hate to think what the Blancpain Swatch collaboration is doing at the moment. I suspect there's still a queue for that. And they're slightly more expensive. You're looking at about 800 Australian dollars for those versus I think it was about 400 something Aussie for the Moon Swatch. But they're still a fun option if you know people who maybe can't afford those other watches but love the brand. And they're still pretty affordable, let's be honest. What else have we got? Oh yeah, how could I forget this? So I love field watches. Ironically, I actually don't own a field watch. I'm thinking at some point in time I will start actually collecting field watches. Now, difference between an enthusiast and a collector in the basic sense. Well, not saying I necessarily agree with this in its entirety, but a collector usually, although not exclusively, will collect something, meaning it might be that they collect every single Fears watch that's ever been produced. That's a micro brand out of Bristol in the UK. For those who don't know, excellent watches. They might collect every version of the Submariner that was ever created. I would not call myself, based on that, a collector. I feel like I'm falling into collector territory in the sense that I'm just collecting watches. Now, some people will disagree with that view and just simply say I'm an enthusiast. If that's what you like, that's fine by me. But I might start collecting field watches. I don't know why it is that I love a watch that was made for war, because that's where the origins of it were. World War I, it was made for soldiers to wear on their wrist to withstand the rigors of wartime and for them to easily tell the time and presumably get to battle on time. You know, Hamilton is probably one of my favorites, and in particular the Khaki field watch. Now, it should be said this is slightly more expensive, and I'm talking in Australian dollars, so it hovers above $1,000, but in the overall grand scheme of things, watch-wise, it's still an affordable watch when you're comparing it to, I don't know, an Omega or a Rolex or even a Tudor or a Breitling. And it's a very, it's just for me a very fun, functional, yet really gorgeous, good looking watch. And I love it. I just love everything about the simplicity of it. You know, typical field watch comes on a nylon, I think NATO strap. And even though I don't really like NATO straps, it just works. Everything about this watch works. It's not my favorite field watch in the sense that I fell in love with the Bosell field watch that they've put out more recently. Again, I don't have that. The thing about the Hamilton is you've got a lot slimmer profile to it, so it's probably a bit easier to wear. But in any event, add a field watch to your collection or think about a field watch. They come in, the Timex has a really great one at under $300. Something to think about to give a loved one or a friend who's a watch enthusiast and or collector. Tissot. From memory, my uncle has a Tissot, which is very elegant and very simple and very affordable. But the Tissot PRX Powermatic 80, that's a pretty cool watch. Again, it probably is a little bit of a homage to one of our more expensive cousins out there. But, you know, we're not kidding ourselves. It's still a Tissot. It's a Swiss-made brand or watchmaker. It's an affordable price and it's pretty good bang for your buck. It's going to satisfy a lot of people who are just after a really nice dressy watch, but not with the outrageous price point. Citizen's also another brand that you could check out. The Eco Drive movement is fantastic. They make, again, really good Japanese quality watches, but at a really affordable price point for people that look really elegant on the wrist. In particular, I was looking at one of their dive watches, which is about 44 mil, so it's kind of on the chunkier side for people and a bit of heft. But if you're looking to get someone, again, a bit more of a sportier adventure watch, but dressier, check out the Citizen range for that. Love this one. Don't know if I'll ever add it to the collection, but the Alpina brand, another Swiss watch brand, automatic watch. The one in particular I was looking at was their Pilot watches. They're very simple, they're very plain in the sense that they're just an elegant watch, but you don't need to but you kind of don't need, well, let's face it, you don't need the same amount of money that you'd need to get an IWC Big Pilot. I love those watches, but they're so expensive. So if you go to Alpina and have a look, it's very clear, very legible dials because its Pilot needs to be read in various conditions. And it's got a bit of character to it, and we're getting a little bit more expensive, but it would be remiss of me to not mention Tudor. Now, there are varying models of this watch, starting from, you know, $2,000–$3,000 going up. So there is one in there for more of the upper end of the budget, in the budget range, if that makes sense. The upper end obviously is not $7,000, but for the purposes of this video, absolutely, it's probably beyond. But there are models in the Tudor range, your non-precious metal Black Bay, that you could find for someone that you're probably willing to pay a little bit more for, like let's say between $3,000 and $5,000. So it's not for everyone in this list. But you could check out Longines if you're after a dress watch at a slightly more it's like, I think maybe sub $3,000 or $4,000. You know, quality made watch, dress, sort of more of a luxury dress watch look without the luxury dress watch price tag. Longines could be for you. The other one that gets a lot of discussion out there, which they're not my favorite to be honest with you, is the Orient. But they're very much made decent quality watch, Japanese brand, affordable if you like them, if you're that way inclined. They're a cool little watch. They're pretty funky, they're pretty fun. I mean, they have automatic movements, they're reliable, and they kind of still have that sporty luxury look and feel to them without that massive price tag. Another one I found on my journey that I'd never seen before. So I suspect it's somewhat of an homage watch, but check out Momentum. They've got something that very much looks like the Tag Monaco. In fact, it probably is, I feel like if Dan Henry was going to do a Tag Monaco homage type watch, or a watch inspired by the Tag Monaco, he'd do something like this. So for those of you who know who Dan Henry is, one of my favorite micro watch brands, and he is absolutely a collector of vintage watches. In fact, I think it's rumored that he's got like 1,000, or at some point had 1,000. He catalogued them all. It's unbelievable. Go down that rabbit hole on his website. But he makes affordable watches, and he makes them, he takes a particular watch that he's inspired by, for example, the Rolex Daytona, and he'll do a watch inspired by that. That I actually have that watch, and it's a Panda dial. It's a Panda dial chronograph, and it's exquisite, and it's like a few $100 US. So also check him out, by the way. But yeah, Momentum have kind of done a watch that I feel Dan Henry would do if he was channeling the Tag Monaco. There's a whole heap of things out there. I've only not even scratched the surface, but I've given you some ideas to think about. But yeah, in particular, Seiko, Casio, Hamilton, Marathon's another good one if you're into military style and field watches. Love them. If you're into Aussie watches, check out Panzera, check out Melbourne Watch Co, check out Borzell. Like I said, check out Dan Henry anyway, because that guy's like one of my watch heroes. I love his stuff. But honestly, let me know if you're thinking of buying a watch, or you're putting a watch on your Santa list, whatever it is. Let me know what you're thinking, what you've looked at. If you think I've probably missed a whole bunch of things, but by all means, chuck them down. But I think that should get people started with having a think about what they can do if they're thinking they didn't have enough money maybe to get someone a watch who they know loves watches. Honestly, there is a watch at any price point out there for everyone. And I have expensive watches and I love these watches, like at these lower price points. It's got nothing to do with how much a watch costs. It's got to do with how it makes you feel, the aesthetics of, whether you like to look at it or not. All these basic things that don't necessarily have to cost you an arm and a leg. Watches and collecting watches, at least now, is not about, I don't know, prestige or showing off. I think it was maybe like before I had them, like that aspirational thing of, if I get that watch, then I know I'm successful and I've done that. And so maybe in getting that, I answered that question or feeling, or maybe I'm just getting older and wiser and understanding that that's all just probably a bunch of bullshit. Who knows? But yeah, I definitely want to start collecting, I think, field watches. I've decided that today. It might change tomorrow. But in any event, I've rabbited on for way too long again. Thank you for listening. If you got this far, like, subscribe, do all those crazy things that you have to do for YouTube. Until next time, have an awesome week, guys. Bye.